What's up, guys? So, been meaning to make this video for quite some time. Kind of another update, and some pretty exciting stuff overall with the brand that occurred lately. A lot of big changes in my life. A lot of things happened. I think my last video was an update in 2025, and since then, a lot changed as well, and some things stayed the same. I kind of rewatched the last video a little bit just to kind of see what I was talking about, and yeah, a lot changed since then. I mentioned the barbell strategy by Nassim Taleb, and how you want to basically stabilize your income on the one side with like something really stable, and then you want to take risks on the side, and then eventually, if your risks pay off in terms of like business ideas and art ventures, creative projects, etc., investments, then you could do whatever you want. You could retire, you could freaking, whatever the upside was from those risks. I kind of ended up nuking my life a bit away from the barbell strategy, actually. Partly because of many factors, but partly just I managed to stabilize my income, and I was living in the U.S. I was living in Florida at the time, and things were going well. I was in control of my schedule. I was in control of my clients. I was a contractor. And life wasn't bad, honestly. I think a lot of people would look at my life on paper at the time and think to themselves, shit, I wouldn't mind that. But ultimately, there were many things that weren't adding up. The equation wasn't making sense for me on an emotional level, you could say on a spiritual level. And I don't know if some of you guys seen my video on Victor Pride, who was a old school blogger from back in the day. And he was an old school like masculinity writer. Like he would write about lifestyle and being remote, like working remotely, and kind of just having this almost like a modern just a modern take on what it means to be a man, basically, right? I mean, what it means to be free, what it means to be your own man, what it means to be self-made, etc. And he was definitely one of my original inspirations. I just liked his style of writing. I liked the aesthetics of his content. I liked how it was kind of old school. I was never a huge fan of the more modern writers, you could say, or not modern writers, but modern aesthetics around masculinity. But one of my critiques on my video was, okay, when he crushed his whole blog, when he crushed it, he became like a pretty religious Christian out of nowhere, similar to kind of like Roosh, actually. And I think they actually, now that I think about it, I think it happened around the same time for both of them. They were both like in their late 30s, early 40s, I want to say. And I feel like people that can't handle complexity, ambiguity, VUCA, actually, this is a good acronym. Variability, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. Pretty sure this is a term used by military organizations, risk management organizations, etc. And of course, complexity, ambiguity, something Taleb talks a lot about. Writers like John Gray talk a lot about this. John Gray is a skeptic, you could say philosopher, I guess, who writes in kind of this analytical, almost cynical fashion. But you can tell that this person has a tremendous grasp on the complexity of life, on the ambiguity of life. And that's something I've been trying to develop for years. And I go in and out. Like, when I'm feeling weak, I gravitate towards certainty. When I'm feeling strong, I gravitate towards, not towards complication, but I'm more at ease with it. I don't feel the need to, put life into like a cozy narrative as much. I can sort of play with, my connection to life becomes more playful. I don't need cozy narratives. I don't need as much consolation. And this could mean in relation to many things, whether it's the idea of the narratives of organized religion, or the narrative of like what a stable life looks like, stable relationship, marriage, kids, the white picket fence, the American dream is another narrative. The myth of progress of humanity could be seen as a narrative, a comforting narrative. Spirituality can often come with comfortable narratives, like the evolution of consciousness, and man is moving towards evolution, as if we're becoming this higher and higher creature every generation. Narratives could also be as simple as, this friendship is going to last, or this person's my best friend, or this woman would never leave me, or my health is, amazingly robust, I never get sick. This country is stable, the economy is stable, our military is strong. Like, right now I'm in, outside of the U.S., I'm in, you could say, Eastern Europe. I finally made the jump, and that's one of the ways in which I kind of threw my previous life into the tornado, the chaos, the storm a bit, to shake things up. And when I did that, I started reconnecting with some of my previous ideas. Because again, I used to be a contractor in the U.S., and many of you might know this, but it was the trades and construction and stuff is going through a bit of a boom, or like not a boom, but it's becoming respectable, or it's seen as a more stable path is the better way to say it. It's seen as a more stable path currently for young people to make money. But I wasn't happy in the U.S. I wasn't happy with the culture. I wasn't happy with the dating life. I wasn't happy with the social life. I just couldn't get into it. Like, I tried from a lot of different angles, but it was always kind of lacking for me. I want to avoid talking BS about the U.S. I think the U.S. is an incredible place. A place to be very grateful for, a place with a very unique system. If in the grand scheme of things, it's easy to take it for granted when you're from there. The U.S. is an incredible place, and like any country, it goes through ups and downs. I think the U.S. would have been more fun for someone like me if it were like the 80s or something, or the 70s. But 2020s, there's a kind of a joke where it's like late stage capitalism. And I read this book recently called The Man of Zero by David Data, an author I love talking about. And there was an incredible introduction to the book by Jamie Clear, I think. No, not Jamie Clear. What the fuck was his last name? He wrote the book Flow, or something like that. Not Flow by Mihail Csikszentmihalyi or whatever. He wrote a book about flow. He's one of those writers about like human performance, flow, entering the flow state and stuff like that. And he wrote something about like the myth of progress and how everything is kind of in a late stage. You can tell basically that he was coming from a place that I think many in the U.S. could understand if they're going through this, a type of nihilism, or a type of disillusionment. And there's so many reasons for this. I mean, one is just the economy. Two is the the cultural battles that kind of just crushed a lot of people's illusions around all kinds of things. But stability in terms of political, social, relational, all these structures, all these institutions are just kind of getting hollowed out in the U.S. right now. So a lot of young people are kind of depressed. So I was feeling that. And a lot of the people I know, a lot of my friends were also in a similar boat. And I'm not speaking for everyone in the U.S. I'm sure there are people that are ecstatic living over there. But I had to get out. I mean, it was time. I never really wanted to live there full time anyway. I have a very international background. And yeah, so that led me to start reconnecting with Spartan Ownership. And of course, for years, I've been trying to figure out what's my angle. What am I going to come out with? How do I come out with stuff with integrity and not become too like a trend surfer type of guy? So a lot of these questions made me hesitate. I had other business ventures I was working on, etc. But I finally made the decision to shift it all towards Navigating Dionysus, which really represents kind of what I've been going through for the past few years in my own mind, in terms of trying to embrace complexity, nuance, trying to become more comfortable with the mystery of life, with trying to become less dependent on cozy narratives to navigate my life, which of course also comes with the tendency to tell everyone else what to do and what not to do. People that, it's kind of like when you're vegan, you kind of have to tell everyone. That's sort of how a lot of narratives in life are, whether you're a religious person, whether you're like a bodybuilder, whether you're anything that kind of has this mix. And to some extent, maybe it's even unavoidable. Like, I'm going to be telling you guys what my next thing is and how that's the great thing. But still, what I want to do is take on a more playful perspective. And that's where Navigating Dionysus comes in. It's when you hear the word navigating, you don't hear, it's not supposed to sound like I've arrived anywhere. It's not supposed to sound like this brand represents an arrival. It doesn't represent clarity necessarily either, in terms of like, I don't have the system, I don't have the thing, I don't have the destination, I don't have the truth or the answer or any of these kind of things. But what you're gonna get is a guy who's navigating, and Dionysus is the I think it's the Greek god. I always forget if it's Greek or Roman. I should probably know this because it's the freaking name, but it's the Greek god of like wine, ecstasy, maybe chaos, you could say. And of course, Taleb was the inspiration for this, because in Anti-Fragile he talks about Dionysus or Dionysian forces and like Apollonian forces. And Apollonian is kind of the opposite. It's clarity, it's order, it's structure, harmony, I guess you could say. But it's important to avoid like fetishizing clarity and order in life. And it's important to realize that there's actually a lot of, maybe even most of life is in the Dionysian, you could say. What does that mean? It means that a lot of truth is between the lines, can't really easily be explained, can't really easily be put into a coherent system, can't really easily be arrived at through logic, maybe you could say, or put into words is even better. And there's an incredible sentence that Taleb highlights from Nietzsche, and he said, what isn't intelligible isn't necessarily non-intelligent. And I'll repeat that one more time. I might have slightly shifted the wording, but it's essentially the same meaning. What isn't intelligible isn't necessarily unintelligent. And that's such an amazing quote. It basically means that just because something can't be put into words, like for example, if you have like some kind of a hunch or an intuition or a feeling, or you kind of know how to do something but you can't explain it, or an approach to life, or an idea on how to live your life, or a business, or there's so many different paths in life that start with like a hunch, that start with a feeling. There's so many truths in life that can't really be put into words. And that's the Dionysian to me. It's what's opaque. It's what's complex. It's what's it can't easily be put into a fucking 10 bullet point thing. So that's really what I want to come to with this brand. Is I want to approach topics that are near and dear to my heart, whether it's masculinity, whether it's fitness, whether it's relationships, dating, navigating addictions, taking control of your life. These are the original Spartan Ownership topics. But approaching them with a bit more of a playful lens. I'm not here to fucking, again, arrive at anything ultra concrete. I'm trying to loosen the grip, you might say, because again, whenever you come to any kind of intellectual or philosophical ideas, it's better to have more of a spirit of exploration, play. The philosopher Michel de Montaigne, the French philosopher, I think he's the inventor of the word essay, which in French means to try. And it goes against a lot of American self-improvement literature and like copywriting wisdom. You listen to copywriting gurus that want to teach you how to sell something, right? It's all about certainty. It's all about clarity. It's all about your words have to strike and have power. And you look at books in the self-help world right now, like the 48 laws of power, the 33 strategies of war, his recent book, The Laws of Human Nature. By the way, some good books. These are some interesting books, by the way. I enjoyed them, but there's a very strong marketing purpose behind that. And it's when you clothe your content with that kind of almost biblical seriousness, and even the way the book is structured. If you look at some of those books, it's kind of has a very strong branding. It's almost like a textbook. Almost like a legalistic, some kind of biblical branding almost, or something. But yeah, so started coming out with essays again. Started a forum now that you can go to on navigatingdionysus.com/forum. I used kind of an old school forum layout for now. We'll see. Maybe I'll change it in the future, but I liked that forum because I've experienced it myself with previous forums. And it's a place where we could talk as men about stuff related to masculinity. It's kind of like, imagine Men's Health or some of these magazines. That's really what my real goal actually is. As of now, I really want to say that it's about creating a space where men can sort of, build culture. It's kind of like what Men's Health or these kind of magazines should be almost, but can't because they're so big, because they're so scrutinized, because they're so corporate. They have to be so filtered, watered down, reduced. The topics have to be so just watered down, reduced, Procrustean, you might say. But Navigating Dionysus is about moving beyond these Procrustean models of how to live your life. And it's more about playing with the uncertainty of it all, but staying on topic at the same time so that we're not just all over the place, but we can explore these topics. So that's why the forum was such an important idea, an addition. I want it to be a space where guys can talk, have fun, lighthearted. It's also a place probably where men have to go to, but who have to have a bit of a nuanced perspective on life. You can't be someone that goes there and starts fucking pasting quotes about stuff that you're like super gung-ho about and you're trying to convince everyone, because that's just not how it's not gonna be fun for anyone. That's not what I'm trying to do. It's a place of exploration when it comes to style, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to world affairs, when it comes to being a gentleman. What does that mean anymore? To me, it means the Navigating Dionysus gentleman is a man who's comfortable with uncertainty, who kind of lives life powerfully, aesthetically, in a masculine way, in the face of all the uncertainty of life, in the face of ambiguity. He doesn't always need comfortable narratives. He wears a loose. He wears philosophy like an outfit he can change in and out of. He tries different ideas, and it creates this dialogue with other men, where the conversation. That's another thing I'm really interested in, is how do you have a great conversation? And a great conversation is where you can take something and you could play with the idea without getting so caught up in it. You know, it's playing with the idea from different angles. You contribute something, I contribute something, and it could be something controversial. It could be something polarizing, but we circle the conversation, we circle the topic, and we with a very gentlemanly, almost, I don't know, I feel like the old school gentleman, maybe the British style or Italian style, was someone that always had this very pleasant air. I think that's very important for what I'm trying to accomplish here. It's becoming a more pleasant person in the face of all this intense debate, intense political stuff, and just being lighthearted about it, being able to talk about it without getting so emotional, being able to explore the other person's perspective. And even if you disagree completely, just having some humor about it. You know, you should be able to I think this is how universities used to be. I think John Gray was saying this. Like, you could have an extreme right person and an extreme left person in the same fucking room back then, and have a few drinks, and then it becomes funny. You know, it's. I heard a funny analogy from I think Gavin McInnes or someone, and they were like, you should have like a Nazi and like a crazy Green Party person in the same room just fucking around. Like, not that I want to have that level of crazy ass debate all the time, but I'm just saying, like, that's part of the direction. It's defining the modern gentleman, someone who's anchored in an aesthetic code of behavior, maybe style even, who has this anchoring, but wears it kind of loosely and explores life, embracing the complexity of it all in a certain pleasing fashion, but with honor and dignity and everything else, of course. So it's this, I don't know if you guys are getting what I'm saying. I'm kind of going all over the place, but yeah, a lot of this stuff is new, and it's still not fully formed, and it probably won't ever be, but that's the whole point of this. So you're going to see articles, you're going to see videos, you're going to see products, you're going to see services, you're going to see experiments, you're going to see art, you're going to see random photos, you're going to see some stupid stuff, you're going to see some cool stuff, you're going to see me just embracing creativity, and the creative process is very messy. You know, a busy kitchen where masterpieces are being made is probably not the cleanest kitchen in the world, especially during the more intense phases of development. You might have an eggshell and a couple of random things scattered around and about. They say Einstein's desk was wasn't the most orderly, right? Not comparing myself with the genius man. I'm just saying, like, just get ready to see some of the realities of the creative process, especially during the simultaneously beginning of a new brand, but also the maturing of an old brand, and then of course the whole shift of it all. I'll end it with this. I thought maybe one of the first services I want to bring back is accountability. I know a lot of guys are alone. You know, a lot of my readers, whether they're just in a phase in their life where maybe their friends aren't around as much or whatever. And I've benefited myself from having someone in my corner during those stages when I'm building, when I'm going through loneliness, and I'm struggling with certain compulsive behaviors, whether it's binging from like porn addiction, food, just not having someone there to talk to or hold you accountable to kind of a higher standard. So I offered some packages on my site for that, whether it's like an audio WhatsApp accountability where you can receive a response from me, and the rates are pretty affordable for most people, including a sliding scale rate for people that are just low income. And other than that, I just want people to engage again. Go on the forum. That's really the biggest thing I want to see, is people building their usernames and us starting some kind of conversation, some kind of dialogue, and having fun. So that's my update, guys. I know it's been a little bit all over the place, but hope you enjoy.